Well, hello everybody. This is now August the 10th. I'm starting this video off with one of my exciting potato reveals. I'm still not getting around to the ones that were billed as being early potatoes. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to have this in shade, aren't I? My shadow, rather. Because other varieties keep dying off on me, and the ones that were early are still showing some green, so I'm not doing anything with those yet. This particular variety is Novella, and it's one of the ones that I only had one seed potato, so there's just one small seed potato in this. I'll get the right up here for you. It says Novella is a new variety with yellow skin and pale yellow flesh. Potatoes are good and of uniform size. Well, we'll see that in a minute. Novella is suitable for cultivation on different soil types, but can be susceptible to common scab, and it's a mid-season potato. The scab has got me a bit concerned because the potting mix that I use is not very consistent. I buy it and use it every year. Last year I didn't have any problem at all with scab, and those Yukon Golds that I harvested last week had some scab, which means that they've probably added too much lime to the potting mix. We will see what happens here, I guess. Getting off okay anyway. I don't know why they're dying off on me, other than we've had very little rain here since the end of June. I've had to hand water, and I've tried to keep these watered, but occasionally they have wilted, so maybe that could be the problem with why I'm losing some of these. It certainly isn't from overwatering. We've had hardly any rain at all. I'm not certain exactly when I put the eaves trough and the rain barrel thing on the cabin, but we had one rainstorm that filled it, and I used that. And then later on we had another rainstorm that sort of half filled it, and I've used that. We get lots of forecasts of rain that's supposed to arrive here, but all we end up getting is sometimes a bit of fog and some cloudy days. Not far from here they're having decent amounts of rain, but has not been the case here so far. If there was something to complain about in the garden, I would be complaining if there was too much rain too. Well, I don't know what these are going to taste like yet, but considering that I only had one little seed potato, which wasn't any bigger than that, I'm relatively pleased with the result. And the threat of scab, none of that has happened on these. They're just nice, smooth, as it says, yellow skin, good looking potatoes. So we'll see what they taste like. If I really like them, I'll order more of those seeds for next year. It's now August 15th, and I can report that those potatoes were excellent. That's definitely a variety that I will add to my seed order for next year. What I'm showing here is 3 of the globe basil plants. I don't know how many I have. I've planted them here, there, and everywhere inside of the hoop house. Our outdoor temperature here, basil does not care for. I just brought this out to show you, but these two seem to be quite similar with a finer leaf, and for some reason, out of the same seed packet, this one has a larger leaf. But I've been using it all summer. I love the stuff. It has a wonderful flavor, and it's the first time I've ever grown a basil that hasn't tried to bolt and flower, and you spend the summer cutting blossom heads off it so that you get some leaves to salvage. But so far, it's been in there in all that heat in the hoop house, and it loves it. And there still isn't any sign of blossoms to come. I've just been in there doing a little harvesting. I was in the cabin and got a couple of small heads of garlic. But I'll get those over where you can see them, I guess. But finally, I'm getting a few ripe tomatoes. Very few. That's all that was available. And this is a couple of the ancho poblano, the Mexican milder chili pepper. Plans are to have a fresh tomato sauce with some pasta this evening. A very small sauce, but anyway, enough for one serving. I was curious about my carrots. I have very few carrots, but they're planted in the same bed with the onions where I had lots of compost. And this is what happens when you use lots of compost with a carrot. I pulled this one and was very encouraged, and then I pulled the one beside it, and this is what I got. There's probably not many more than a dozen carrots there anyway, and they're just as, just as tasty and good to eat. But that's what happens when you use too much compost or plant a carrot where you've put a lot of compost. I haven't shown my solitary bee house, mason bee house, this summer, so I thought I would give you a little shot of it now before I do some chopping and dropping here. Has been not terribly active all summer, but right now it is a hive of activity. These ones here with the gray cells, those are done by the mason bee. And the one that you can see here and here and here with bits of green leaf at the end, those are done by the leaf cutter bees. And there's a leaf cutter bee there just going in with a fresh piece of leaf that it has cut. It's amazing. I see them around here on my plants everywhere where they've been cutting. I'll show you one in a second, but they take very few seconds to come back with a perfectly cut little disc of leaf to use. This is on a leaf off of the wild grapevine here, but that's been done by a leaf cutter bee. They just start at the edge and very quickly cut out a little circle. They seem to like my pear tree that's behind me as well, but they don't do any real damage. They just take a little slice out of each leaf. This is a leaf on my grafted Asian pear, and obviously the leaf cutter bees enjoy the pear leaves. Like I say though, they don't really do any damage, just taking a little piece out of the leaves here and there. Another one up above it here that's got two out of it. I noticed that there's a lot of dry soil, dry dirt on the grapevine leaves down below. I'll show it to you. Down below the solitary bee nest or house, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that means that the mason bees are having a hard time finding damp soil to turn into clay. A lot of it's getting dropped and coming down here on the leaves. So over here there is a patch where I emptied out a container last year. So I just thoroughly soaked that down. I'm sure they'll find it in no time. And have some wet soil to work with. I think my comfrey plants are 3 years old. I think this is the third summer, if not the fourth summer for them. And I've never been satisfied with the way that they were growing. I even lost one winter killed a few years ago. But what you're looking at there, a whole width of the cabin, is just 3 plants. And what I did this spring was I sheet mulched them. I put cardboard around and then fresh dressing out of the chicken coops, and they really seem to have liked it. They're going great guns. So today I'm going to do my first chop and drop, putting the comfrey leaves around I think a lot of the perennial things here in this. I'm standing in the midst of my perennial fruit and veg bed with the cherry trees and the pear tree and all that sort of stuff. You can see the pear tree just off to the left there. But I think I will put the leaves around the base of all of this. I just finished watching Patrick on the 1 Yard Revolution channel. He's preparing for a trip to Ireland. And one thing he did is chopped and dropped all of his comfrey and put it around things to, help keep moisture in while he's gone. But I asked him a question afterwards, and he said yes, when he's doing this, he cuts it back completely because it will come very quickly back from the root. So that's what I'm about to do. Well, I left a little bit of greenery at the base of each plant to give it something to start back from, but they certainly did grow a lot this summer. They appreciated the sheet mulching, I guess. Now I have a large pile of stuff that I really have to do some more chopping on. It's a lot of very long stems. And I'll put it around the shrubs here and give you a look at it afterward. Well, that's the base of my grafted Asian pear with the comfrey chopped and dropped around it. I had enough to do the 3 small cherry tree bush things that I have and 4 of the 5 Saskatoon berries. So the nutrients will soon be able to be used by them, I guess. For those of you who are not aware of what we're doing here, what the purpose of this is, I will try to explain my understanding of it anyway. I'm no expert. This is the very first time I've ever done it. But from listening to Patrick and other people, I guess I know comfrey is a taproot that goes very deep into the ground. And it sort of mines the minerals and trace elements and whatever from deep down in the ground and brings them up into its foliage. So when you chop these and put them around plants as they decompose, those minerals and elements are deposited in the soil and taken down into the soil by when you either water it or rain or whatever. While I was in the mood to chop and drop, I also did my Good King Henry. I had allowed it to go to seed, flower, and bloom, and this is all the stuff that I chopped off it. I'll put that around the Saskatoon berry that doesn't have anything around it. And it has already dropped its seed, so hopefully it will spread and come up from seed next year, more of it, whatever. But I'm seeing several, like there's little plants there and there. This is one. This is no, that's in there, I guess. But this is one. There are several of them that are outside of the area where I had the 8 or 9 or whatever it was Good King Henry plant. So I think it means that it's coming up from the roots as the root spreads out, which is good. I'll have a larger patch of Good King Henry, and I'm hoping that by cutting it down, that will encourage it to send up some growth for fall, and I'll have a crop of it this fall. It's already happening with this one here. Even before I cut it down, that's all new growth there. So if that should happen to all of them, I'll be able to have some more Good King Henry this fall. While I was doing that last segment, I was constantly looking for a plant that I knew I'd seen here that was well outside of the area where I had originally planted the Good King Henry, but I couldn't find it, I think because I had something on top of it. But this is it here. And that's a good foot from anywhere where I had one planted, so evidently it does spread from the root. So over time I'll have a nice large patch of it, hopefully. Well, time for another of my exciting potato reveals. I think all along I've been saying that there were 2 varieties that were called an early variety. Well, I noticed looking at my list the other day there are actually 3, and this is one of the early ones. It's called Caribe, C-A-R-I-B-E. It says it's a high-yield oblong potato with excellent storage qualities. Well, from one pot I'm not going to be worried about storing them, I guess. And it says it's a good baking potato with moist flesh when cooked. And again, it's one of the ones that I only had 1 seed potato. So this is the only container of them, and whatever's in here came from 1 seed. Surprised that it's a red skin. I wasn't expecting a red skin potato. Good size anyway, like they said. Not many of them. I think 2's there, but good size. Now there's a few smaller ones coming. guess that's it. I think as far as, well, the quantity is not that great. I think these are the largest of the potatoes that I've harvested so far anyway. Interesting to see what they're like, and since they say they're a good baking potato, I'll bake one or two of the larger ones this evening and see what I think of them. Anyway, I will put the weight on the bottom of the screen once I get back up to the house and weigh these on the kitchen scale, but definitely not much. Well, I forgot to say that the clip of the last potato reveal there and this clip of my high bush blueberries being harvested are both taken on the 18th of August. There are still some green high bush berries, but I have learned from experience if I don't harvest them now, when the flocks of robins and blackbirds get together for their fall migration here, which will happen any day now, they'll eat them quite gladly. So my favorite blueberry is the native wild low bush blueberry, but as I get older and get more arthritis every year, I must admit I'm enjoying the high bush berries more. It's much easier to pick. And I've been about, I don't know, less than a half hour picking that container full. I hope that might be enough to make one batch of blueberry jam. One batch makes 4 500 milliliter bottles, 4 pints. If not, I'll come out and pick a few more, I guess, but I also, as they continue to ripen, I want to pick some to freeze. I like to have them in the winter time. They're a treat. I just take a few out, small container, small Pyrex dish, custard dish, full, add a little sugar to it, put it in the microwave for a minute or so. Then I have that on top of Greek yogurt and I can't think of what you call it, granola. It's a wonderful breakfast or evening treat and the taste of fresh berries in the wintertime. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That concludes this particular video.